You can be a drag queen that loves Jesus.
To pray alongside of queer Muslims, there is so much power there.
I feel very Jewish, very queer, very human.
I would not have come out as a gay man if it weren't for my church. I would not go walking through the streets in makeup and in drag if it weren't for my faith in Jesus.
I was put into this world, in this community, everything is like black and white, and this is right and this is wrong. The fear of God was put in me, but actual God wasn't a boogeyman.
I did ask God to make me a blonde, thin, white girl, but I never asked him to take away my queerness.
It comes to show us how to live.
Spirituality and sexuality are very interconnected. I believe in God. I believe that Jesus loves me because I'm gay, not in spite of my sexuality. I was raised Catholic, and as far back as I can remember, we went to church. This Sunday tradition centers me. It gives me peace to go throughout my week. This is the one place I know my lines, you know? I felt fortunate enough to grow up in a church that was much more about lifting myself and others around me up.
Growing up, Allah was my constant companion. My family came to the United States from Afghanistan and had a very close-knit Afghan community in Queens. There's been a benefit for me to collapse cultural and religious identities because without having the two of them together, I wouldn't have had such a strong affinity for Islam. There is no singular narrative on how Islam looks and how it's done right. Some days my call to prayer goes off on my phone and I say a prayer in my head, and some days it's just using my tezbah or my Muslim rosaries on the subway to meditate and remember God. When I tell people that I'm Muslim and queer, there's always this question that comes up in queer circles, oh, that must be so hard. It's hard for any of us to be queer or women or gender nonconforming in this world. Why is my identity as a Muslim extra hard than anybody else's identity?
I grew up in an ultra-orthodox community in this sect called Satmar. There's a lot of rules. Everything is about the community. I'm very much an individual. I have to be greater and larger, and then I can add to the world. And over there, I couldn't do that. It's a little hard to explain what I was expected to be, because you're supposed to be passionate, but passionate about God, and passionate about wanting to be a mom. So I was never told to be small, but I was told that I had a role to play. Matchmakers are real, and I was 19, almost 20 when I got married. I tried to make it make sense for me. It never fit, it never felt like it fit. First time I had a date with a woman and we kissed on that date. I knew what to do and it made sense. And then I didn't have to question it.
My family was very supportive of me coming out. I think they definitely knew before I did. But because we're human and we have expectations of each other, it still can be tough because I am a little bit more outspoken and because I'm doing this interview with nail polish on. Catholicism is about love, and congregations that excommunicate the LGBT community are cherry-picking the Bible for hate. I march every year in New York City Pride with members of my church. Believing in God and believing in Jesus do not have to conflict.
I didn't ever ask God to change my sexual orientation because it felt exciting. I knew God made me the way I was meant to be. I just wish God would make it easier for my parents. The funny thing is, as a queer Muslim in this country, my queerness gives me access to a humanity that my parents do not have. I'm more palatable than they are. I don't know if it's because my queerness subverts Islam and as a result makes my Islam safer for people. We spent so much more time in this country normalizing queerness and LGBT identity than Muslims and immigrants.
When I go back to my family, I'll wear a skirt. I'll cover my elbows and collarbone, because those are very sexy parts of a woman's body. With my dad, we talked about gay people. I was so nervous to tell him. I was like, I'm dating this woman, and he's just like, okay, and? And I was like, and? Like, what? And to him it was, I wasn't religious, so I'm not following the rules anyway. He's like, do I like it? No. Do I accept it? Yes. I don't think I've ever had total acceptance in my life. I've had acceptance of this is who you are. I haven't had it's good who you are.
Religion is an institution, and the study of human sexuality is so small in comparison to the history of the church that I recognize it's not going to catch up in my lifetime to where I'm at as a gay man. But who knows, maybe the world will surprise me.
Religion and faith is the reason that we're told you can't be gay or you can't be queer or that your gender identity is not allowed, for many of us. And so a queer person or a queer Muslim praying, I think is actually pretty revolutionary. Even if everyone says you're not supposed to be that person, you know what, you exist.
I do Yiddish theater, and I did this play, and it was like a lesbian love story. And be able to do something I love, which is act, play a queer woman, which I am, and to say all these loving things and sexual things to this woman in Yiddish is really amazing. It was things that I was able to express that brought together all these things in my life.
I do drag comedy. I'm an outspoken Catholic. When I put on my face for a performance, I'm doing so to make myself look as beautiful as possible. That's another moment I thank God.